Oi! Welcome to episode 9 of the Amazon Connect podcast. I thought it was episode 10, but my ever reliable rock of a partner that is Mark Rudkowski
Mhm.
assures me we haven't done 9 yet, so
No,
this must
we
be
have done
9.
that. We're trying to skip ahead, Doug, and we can't do that yet.
I'm just excited for 10 because I know
I
what
know.
10 is, but
Yeah.
I'm equally as excited for 9. But Mark, first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm in Seattle this week,
Oh,
so
you beat me to it. I could tell you weren't in Raleigh or near Raleigh in North
nope, it's not dark
Carolina.
out. It's not dark
No,
out. So yeah, yep.
no.
At this point, so
We've had daylight saving here. Do you have daylight saving at the same time? Have you changed the clocks at all anywhere?
no, not yet. When is that? It's probably I think it's in a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah. So we've gone early on the weekend, and it's messing with me. It's messing with me. But the thing that messes with me even more is I feel like I'm stepping back in time 8 years to the very beginning of Amazon Connect as we introduce our guest, Yasser El-Hagan. How are you, Yasser? The original Connect SA.
I'm great. It's awesome to be here with you guys.
Now, can you just give us like a 2 sentence how you want to present yourself, and we'll get into some what's news, and then we'll go deep on what you're doing these days. But just introduce yourself, Yasser. Tell us about yourself.
Sure. So again, I'm founder and CEO of Prenetics, which is a boutique consulting shop that's an AWS Amazon Connect partner. Let's see, most relevant before I joined or started Prenetics. I guess most relevant of my background is my time at AWS, where I spent 6.5 years at AWS. Started as a TAM in enterprise support and was employee number 0 on the go-to-market team for Amazon Connect, which was awesome. And yeah, before that, I was at Avaya and Nortel. But I guess most relevant is my time at Amazon.
In the early days, you were synonymous with Amazon Connect. You were everywhere. You were on all the videos. You were on all the presentations. You were flying around the world.
Yasser was the front man.
Yeah, Yasser was the front man. Absolutely right.
I mean, Yasser, how many countries did we travel that first year?
Many, over 12.
Yeah,
we did 7 in just one trip.
Yeah.
So I mean, you two were the 1-2 punch, weren't you? Because it was first ProServe and first solution architect for Amazon Connect.
Yep.
But
Yasser would win the business, and then I'd have to go implement it.
yes.
So that's usually how it went.
That's not much different now.
No, exactly.
Except now I do both sides.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. We've almost kind of reversed roles.
Yeah. Mark's like, yeah, you can do all these great things. And I'm like,
That's
Mark,
right,
I have to actually go do these things now.
Exactly.
Now, let's get on to our what's new before we get into why we're talking to Yasser and the bulk of the discussion that we will, hopefully, for the first time, manage to keep under 30 minutes. But we'll see how we go. But the biggest one of the what's news, I want to hand over to you, Mark. Please tell us about the announcement over the weekend.
So essentially what we introduce now is Amazon Connect now provides agents with generative AI powered email conversations, overviews, suggested actions, and responses. So the cool thing about this is, what it really enables is that customers now, when an agent gets that customer email, they can leverage it to really, leverage generative AI to, for example, process a refund request. And leverage that around what happened around the customer purchase history, and then recommend that resolution in terms of through a step-by-step guide, and generate that email response automatically through the contact. So this is I think this is really awesome in terms of really starting to drive. We hear this often from a lot of our customers is like, can you just make this simpler for our agents to be able to generate these these responses? And this is a really great enhancement, right, in terms of
exactly
the core capabilities, that generative AI is really good at, and leverage that as part of the.
I was going to say that this is one of those points where generative AI really comes into its own. Understanding what the customer's asking for, analyzing a piece of text, in this case an email, and oftentimes customer emails in most organizations are pretty to the point about what the customer wants. Customers aren't writing long stories about themselves. They're saying, hey, I've got this concern. I want to know this piece of information. I want to return this, whatever it is. And generative AI will do a really, really good job of helping the agent out and just cutting through there. And of course, as always, we always like to say, the human is still there to vet it and just take a look and just make sure this is what we want to say. And we've got all those safeguards, be able to see the sources where it's generated answers from, all that kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's going to be huge. And I think it's really going to accelerate the uptake of email within Amazon Connect. where customers maybe were using a separate platform and they hadn't really sort of seen, well, what's the benefit of pulling it across? I've just got my guys going off doing email. This is where you start to see, okay, I'm really getting the benefit here, as well of course, the reporting, the single view, the occupancy, all that kind of thing. So I'm going to go with two smaller releases that have come around, mainly because they enhance capabilities that I always want to bump back to the surface of customers' minds, because I think they're so impactful. Agent time off balance data, so that's part of what comes out of forecasting, capacity planning, and scheduling, now appears in the Amazon Connect Analytics data lake, reminding everyone we have a data lake, and we include it at no cost as part of it, giving you access to all this information. Yes, the tools you use to analyze it, visualize it, you're still paying for those, whatever it is you choose to use. But all this data is there for you. From a business intelligence point of view, this is gold dust. And if you go way, way back to episode 1, we spoke about how, and I always like to be, to be vocally self-critical of us generally, and me personally, as we're supposed to be at Amazon, when I say that we kind of made a problem for our customers operationally, where we had too many feeds,
you had to
APIs, streams,
yourself, right? Like
yeah.
it was, yeah. I mean,
you're subscribing to things, you're going and getting files, you're running Lambda functions to transform data, all that kind of thing.
We had a ProServe solution, that told you how to build this, right? That was the complicated aspect of that, and that's it's far simpler now.
And
right?
the operational overhead of maintaining it, making sure it's still working, that all your data's still there, and as we add something new or as we change it, you got to go back and remediate that. So the real power here, I think, is that we give this to you in a standardized format, zero ETL, all there for you. The other one I want to glance over, won't talk as long about this one, but was that we've released agent screen recording for Chrome OS devices, just reminding people that we support Chrome OS as well for the businesses out there. And they are in the minority, but they're out there. And this is very powerful to be able to actually, record your agent screens for those interactions.
Well, and we're actually part of their certified program. So,
right.
One aspect of that, in terms of it's, the goal of that is, one is really simplifying, how you can deploy this to your agents, particularly around the OS layer overall. And then there's also Chrome Enterprise, which also offers a lot of value in terms of being able to leverage that, right, and drive, particularly around how are you managing your policies and driving that consistency across your agent population overall. So, and one of the, that's an area too that we're continuing to work closely with Google on, right, as well, in terms of how do we continue to, screen recording is one aspect of that, but there's a lot of capabilities that you get out of Chrome Enterprise and Chrome OS as well, and that's something that there's a lot of value there for customers that want to simplify their overall deployment stack.
Well, selfishly speaking, I always learn something on these podcasts, Mark, and I just learned something then.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, the data lake is one of the best kept secrets, right? Like,
it really is.
We talk to so many customers who have been on the journey with Amazon Connect that have no idea that the data lake exists.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to talk about it again. I never get tired of talking about it. It's so powerful.
It's an episode. It's definitely a future episode for us to do a deep dive on.
And we just let it kind of sneak out there. We didn't really make a big song and dance about it. We barely announced it. It was just like a RSS feed. What's new? There wasn't a big announcement or anything. But yeah. Now, Yasa, before we go any further, I know you were talking before about one of the new releases that caught your eye. So I'd love to throw to you if you want to talk us through the what stands out for you and the what's new.
On the email, yeah. As tech geeks, it's kind of nice to see the different flexibility and control that you have. So it's pretty cool that with email, you can have a separate AI agent for the email overview or email responses or the generative answers. And that means that you can technically have a separate LLM prompt that you can have for each one of those, which is pretty cool because then you can really control for each of those scenarios the instructions you want to provide.
And it's not only the different LLM prompt, you can choose a different LLM. So if you want, one that's more verbose or has a certain characteristic to it, you can, and we'll keep adding those as we go along. Just to spell it out for the listeners, the reason a different prompt matters for all these different scenarios is if you think about the different way you would respond to someone asking you a question via voice or via web chat or via email, you're going to want to format those things differently. You're prepared to have, like an email, you might be prepared to have a much longer answer than you'd want to via web chat or you want to via voice. So, look, that flexibility surprised me when it came along, and it's surprising me again that we're extending it. And surprise is in pleasantly surprised me because it's sort of like it was a problem I didn't know was coming, And then it was great to see the service team, full credit to you, Mark, is already thinking about the answers to these problems.
Yeah. And you can also that means that you can provide different context to that AI agent or to that prompt as well, which is kind of cool. So you can have different context for a summary versus a generative response or a suggestion or what have you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Which I think brings us to the main guts of the show, which is why we're talking to Yasser. So, Mark, why don't I let you set it up? Give us the run up.
Yeah. So Yasser, one reason we wanted to bring you on, right, is particularly, as a key partner, right, for Amazon Connect. One of the questions we kind of got often asked is like, so what, why do I need a partner, right? What's the value of bringing a partner, in terms of, whether, I'm coming from an existing contact center or, I'm new to this space, right? In terms of, a greenfield opportunity, although we see that, we don't see that as much as the migration side of this, but it's
arguably as well, we in the early days of our messaging made it more difficult for partners because we would often talk about how easy it is to spin it up in minutes, how easy, and that sends a confused message to customers because they're like, well, if you're saying it's easy and it's a couple of clicks, what are these guys going to do? So
it's funny you say that. I literally heard that from a customer last week. We were in a meeting with AWS representatives and a customer and us, and he looks right at us like we're in the room, right? And he was like, "Well, why do I need a partner? Like this is not supposed to be that hard." So it kind of brings me to the question that you're asking. But before I go into that, let me tell you a little bit about Prenetics, right?
Yeah, sure.
So the company.
Why did you start another partner? Yeah, that's a great question. What gap did you?
Or I could tell you about a different partner. That works too.
Yeah.
So the company itself has been around for about 10 years. It started out as, a pet project of mine when I first left Avaya. And then I decided to kind of park it while I was doing my thing at Amazon. But we really doubled down in February of 2024, me and my co-founder, Mick Shaw, who I've known for over a decade. So we started two of us out of this basement here. And in about 16 months, we went from the two of us to 47 employees.
Oh.
We are in 21 states across 10 different countries. We've landed over 25 customers in the last 16 months, launched 4 SaaS products. So I just figured I'd give you some of the numbers because, we're Amazonians and Amazonians like numbers.
That's right.
One of the contact centers that we support has over 30,000 agents and at peak does something between 600,000 to 800,000 calls. I'm going to let you guess the interval. You can either say per hour, per day, per week, per month, or per year.
Can't be per hour, surely.
Per week.
What are you guessing, Mark?
Per week.
Oh, well, I'll go per day then.
Per day.
Per day.
It's by far the largest contact center I've ever worked on.
Yeah, that's massive.
It's massive.
That is massive.
And the cool thing about a customer like that is it really brings to life like all the power of Amazon Connect, because any tiny little tweak has massive impact. Like if I can shave off 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever, when you multiply that by 600 to 800,000 contacts, that's real impact, both on the customer side of that contact center and the business and the dollars that they pay for that contact center. So it's
a really, really interesting point. And it's one I like to come back to is because I think that's right. Like the power for big customers is so clear. Equally, the reverse for small customers is getting access to these advanced features that they wouldn't otherwise be able to afford.
100%.
So it's like, easy to implement at the big end, and the impact is felt and it's massive. Whereas on the other end, it's like you would never even be able to do speech analytics. Like you wouldn't be able to analyze a single word if you've got a 3-seat contact center or a 5-seat contact center and be able to actually optimize from that. Yeah.
100%. So at Prenetics, we have 3 parts of our business. So we have like a professional services SI part of our business. We do managed services, and then we have software, and that could be custom software and or SaaS applications. And we've been very blessed to have found success across all 3 of those pillars. So we have a number of customers that we do managed services for, a large news agency, large federal customers, small customers. So can't mention necessarily any customer names, but yeah, some pretty cool brands that we've landed in such a short period of time. So yeah, that's a little bit about what we do. We're meant to be a boutique shop, so I don't want to grow really too big, but all we do is Amazon Connect. And sorry, not just Amazon Connect. What we do is CX. with the core of it being Amazon
Sure.
Connect,
Yeah, yeah.
or really anything CX related at AWS, but we are only focused on Amazon Connect and AWS
And
services.
that's a neat way, I think, into the why do partners matter, because I think that differentiation you just made between Amazon Connect and CX, in that you are CX specialists and our successful partners are CX specialists. They understand, and it's why historically partners have struggled to go from being generalist AWS partners to being Amazon Connect partners. And there's been a lot of train wrecks and a lot of roadkill along the way of a generalist partner going, well, we had a 19-year-old grad jump on and spin up an instance of Amazon Connect. Seems easy. We'll take on this project, and it ends in tears. Because they don't understand the CX component, the work that's always been there, going back to the Avaya days even. How do I turn what this customer needs, their requirements, into system programming, or what this system can do? How do I solve that? So that's it. Have I oversimplified it, do you think, Yasser, or is that the real guts of why you need a partner?
No, it's actually two pieces. So that's one part of it, is not only why you need a partner, but why you need a partner like us. Is that, we're not focused on, data transformations and overall business transformation and this, that, and the other. Like, we are focused on this space. So that matters, because this space is moving so fast that unless you are hyper focused on this space, there's no way you can keep up. Like, there's no way you're going to try to go do 10 different things. So that's the first piece. But the other piece is, I'll pull a line from our time at Amazon, and that is that there's no compression algorithm for experience.
Mm.
So yes, Amazon Connect is easy, sure. But the amount of experience that we get as a dedicated partner that works just on Amazon Connect and CX, where I can see how this large federal agency does it, how this tiny little public sector agency does it, how this law firm does it, how this shoe company does it, both across voice, chat, tasks, cases, speech analytics. I don't care what kind of customer you are. That is not
Forecasting,
what you
capacity
do.
planning, and
That is
scheduling.
not your core competency. So therefore,
Yep.
you're just not going to have the same amount of experience. That's why you bring a partner in.
And I think as well, we are at AWS are not experts in other platforms. I mean, you have pockets of expertise, like Mark was just talking about Google, and of course Salesforce, where Marcus spends a lot of time. But we're not responsible for what Salesforce does. And that's, again, where a partner can come in. Those integration points where, seemingly every customer I talk to has a slightly different CRM or implementation of ITSM or implementation of some ticketing system or billing system or something like that. And to really make your CX sit up and beg, you're going to need that data or access to it somehow.
Well, and I think too, and Yasser, I mean, would love your thoughts on this, right? As with how fast agentic AI is moving, right? Like, how does a partner come into play there? Because I suspect, right, being very prescriptive is super important, right? And in terms of how fast the space is moving.
100%. And it's, not only is the space moving, but because the space is moving so fast, the patterns are changing. So what you might have done where you found success 6 months ago is almost definitely not what's going to be what you do today to find success, right? So I think that's really the big part of it. And again, having a partner that this is all they do, they've done that tinkering, they've learned those lessons, they've made those mistakes, right? And for customers that are trying to kind of push the edge of what's possible in AI, we can be right there kind of ahead of you saying, hey, we've already tried it this way. We know that doesn't work. Try it this way.
I think that's a super key point, right? Because that experimentation, you're doing that all the time, right?
Yeah. And that comes back to that conversation we had with Hannah, where she was talking about how what she'd learned with the implementation of Amazon Q internally, Q for Business, and what that had brought around in terms of all those stats that go out, like 90% of AI projects fail, all that kind of thing. And why do they fail? It's not because the tech's bad; it's because the person didn't understand the questions they were asking or what they wanted it to do.
Well, and you can't just go in broad strokes, right? Like it matters what you're trying to do with it and for what use case, and those patterns change based on that use case. Sorry, go ahead.
No, because I think we mentioned the three parts of the business. The one I want to focus on most, or is most interesting to me, is the managed services component, because I think that's the one where a lot of customers don't understand what value can be brought, and they're missing a trick. And that is, it's kind of like it goes back to the old days of, well, I'll keep picking on Avaya partners, and I used to work for one, where you used to carry some spares, and that was really your value, was that Doug would show up at midnight on Saturday and replace one of your circuit packs or whatever it was when it broke. Now, those days are gone with Amazon Connect. That's not what the managed service does. So where are you adding value in the managed service, and why do customers benefit from having a managed service? Because that's one where I see most commonly customers saying, well, we don't know why we need that.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? So we're actually trying to reinvent what managed services means. And that, by the way, hasn't been easy. It's not easy because we're still trying to figure out what does that mean from a commercials perspective. But then also, you're never going to find me to be one that wants to sell hours. Like, I just don't subscribe to that model, right? Like, we're a smaller company. We want to be a boutique shop. So we want to sell on value. So the way that we think about managed services is think of like your Nordstrom's experience of managed service, right? It's not about, this move or this ad or this change. It's really more about like truly building a partnership-based model with these customers and continuing to kind of do that advisement as they have managed services, but not just advisement, also hands-on. I'll give you an example. Lots of times customers are excited about getting onto the Amazon Connect platform and machine, right? But then it's such a lift for them to kind of migrate, regardless of whatever platform that they're on, that once they do, they celebrate and they kind of just, and it's like back to normal.
That is a
right?
song I hear every day.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what the managed services comes and does, it says, hey, yes, you could pay me X number of thousands of dollars for a project, and I probably could make more money selling you continuous projects as you figure out what you want to do. Or how about you subscribe to X amount per month for a managed service and let me continue on your journey, right? So now we have customers that started with a big voice migration. They'll sign up for managed services, and we do, for the most part, and we try to control it so that, we control risk on both sides of that relationship. But for the most part, like, hey, you want us to enable generative AI evaluations? Cool, that's included in managed services. You want us to do a chat use case for you? Cool, that's included. So we kind of really help customers get the iterative value off of the platform in a continuous way where it's both consistent for us from a cash flow perspective and continuous value that the customer is receiving. Now, if they come in and they say, hey, I have this massive migration project that I want to do, sure, that's not included as part of managed service, but we really kind of optimize on how do we continue getting you to understand and get additional value from the platform, as well as also because the way that we partner with customers throughout these engagements, we spend a lot of time trying to become experts on that customer's business. So once we've done that, now on the managed services side, we're actually coming back with recommendations and saying, hey, by the way, here's what we're noticing in your contact center. If you did X, Y, and Z, here's the additional, productivity your agents could have, or a more seamless experience your customers could have, or what have you. So that's really how we think about managed service.
That's a great point at the end there. And the way you're describing it is, I didn't know the answer you were going to give, but I figured it was going to be so, because it's really changing it from a managed service into an innovation subscription. You basically, you want us to, because not only do I see...
You copyright that right now.
I'm writing that one down. On the website. Do you want to subscribe to our innovation subscription?
The last point you raised there is similar to that one of moving on to the platform, as you say, like what they talk about, phase one, we just want to get on the platform, do no harm, don't want to lose anything, or, make sure we're working. And oftentimes it stalls there. Where they implement something like speech analytics, that's another one where I see people turn it on and they're super impressed by it. Like, it's interesting. You can spend half an hour just noodling around in the data, and it's fascinating to see what you're getting out of it. But that linking of the data to the overall organizational objectives. Okay, we want to increase wallet share. We want to reduce churn. We want to, whatever those things are that the organization wants. We spent $100,000 on marketing. Is anyone talking about what we did? It's linking that data to those outcomes that I think customers struggle because they've got day jobs. The person who turned on speech analytics may not actually be in a position to really sort of think about those things. And I think that's another part of that innovation is not just, hey, we can turn on these features for you, which I'm not saying that's what you were saying, but I just wanted to press again on that point of, well, we can actually help you use the data and explain to you why it's valuable. This is something we've noticed.
Squeezing the additional value out of it, right? And actually brings you back to the point you made earlier in the conversation, the data lake, right? So we actually hook up to the data lake and we show customers how they can get meaningful data by tying together the contact lens information, which is in the data lake, by the way, with all sorts of other information in the data lake, like attributes. So like one of the cool things that we did for a customer recently, actually I can talk about this customer publicly, DC government. We tied together agent evaluations, which are generative AI agent evaluations, with contact lens information, with CSAT scores that the caller rated that contact. So now
Yeah.
you're like, you have signals across that entire journey. You could say,
Yeah.
hey, here's what the AI thought of this interaction based on this form that I filled out as far as what the agent did. But oh, by the way, I have an actual signal from the customer that said that this conversation was a 4 out of 5 or a 5 out of 5. And then we took that and led it into a kudos dashboard that they have up on the main screen of their contact center, so that seconds after somebody leaves the survey and we know that it was a well done call, we have a kudos board that actually calls out the positive information that that customer said about the caller.
Love
So
that.
it's such an interesting way to like tie everything together by all native features.
Well, and I think another thing, right, is Yasser, is the fact that, I mean, we've both been here since the beginning, right, and the velocity at which features come out, right, it just continues right grow. And I think what do you hear that from customers as well, like in terms of, as you think about this, this subscription capability, like really enabling customers with our newest features and our newest capabilities, right, given how we're just continually iterating and making capabilities better and easier to leverage.
Well, and not just that. I think what the customers that we work with, they not only appreciate our technical prowess, but they also appreciate our relationship with Amazon, right? So we're plugged into the product team. We understand what's coming. We know how Amazon thinks. When we have 4 ex-Amazonians, I don't know if you guys know Nikki Wolf is on the team. Right?
Yeah.
No way. The Nikki Wolf.
So the Nikki Wolf.
You
right?
better explain
So,
for everyone who Nikki Wolf is and the importance of
I'll
Nikki
have to
Wolf.
explain that maybe in another episode or maybe a little bit later. But yes, I mean, we've really invested in like top talent in the company. But where I was going with that is that customers often are on a multi-year journey, especially these larger enterprises. And what they end up doing is they try to plan for, I need to go build email summarization. Literally working with a customer who's doing this right now, right? They built their own email summarization and so forth. But as we engaged with them, we said, hey, the way that we really want to think about this is we know some of these things are coming. We know quarter-ish when they're coming. Let's plan your roadmap against the Amazon roadmap so that you're building things that are not coming and saving your cycles to build the things that we know are not coming, right? And email summarization is a great example of that. We said, hey, why don't we wait a little while? We know email summarization is coming. Sure, if you want to do it yourself, but let's do it in such a way that you could easily plug it back out and plug in the native capability. And customers love that. They love that we're plugged in. They love that we kind of know what's coming, so that we can give them that guidance in a way where they can be ready to consume goodness as it comes out.
Now, because we've only got a few minutes left, that last part of the organization there, because one of the things that's nice about talking about Prenetics is because you cover all the different types of partner. Because we have some that are just ISVs, we've got some that are just managed service, we've got some that are just implementation. But I want to talk about that ISV part where you're talking about having custom developers, software developers. How do you manage that? Because that strikes me as probably the biggest challenge, is deciding what you're going to invest your time building against what we might build, and therefore make that a regret cost that you've built something that now doesn't need to be there. Or how do you manage that sort of relationship with AWS? Because I feel as though there's some tension there potentially.
Yeah, I think the difference is that because it's not the only thing that we do and it's not the primary part of our business, there's likely not as much friction. The difference is, and I should maybe just preface this by saying, our strategy is to encourage customers to stay as native as possible on the Amazon Connect platform. So that's a slightly different strategy than a lot of other partners. A lot of other partners will say, I want to go build you this custom widget or this custom
This
CCP
desktop.
because I want to own you forever, right? We say, actually, no, I want to keep you as native as possible because I think that's truly the best experience for you to have, and you can consume goodness as it comes out as fast as possible.
And
Having
the
said
data
that,
has shown the number of customers we've had over the last few years that have migrated off custom desktops to
We've done
as the agent workspaces become, and because they were getting, basically got to a point where they couldn't take advantage of many of the features we were releasing because they were on this.
we don't even have a custom CCP offering. I won't build one. Right. But anyway, to your point about software, what we focus on is how do we kind of bring the whole ecosystem together and augmentation. I'll give you an example. One of the first software packages that we built was a Teams adapter. So we had a customer who had 60 different agencies. They used Teams in their back office, and they wanted their agents to live in the agent workspace. So we built an awesome Teams adapter that is built with Cloudscape. So it almost looks like a native application right within the agent workspace. I'm not worried about competing with Amazon on that.
Yeah.
One of the other applications that we built was a scorecard application, also as a 3P app inside of the agent workspace, so that agents can see not just your normal metrics, because Amazon did eventually release that, but your metrics
We got
against
there.
goals and thresholds. So now as a business supervisor, I can set what your goal and threshold is. So it's more of like a scorecard and a little bit of gamification, as well as also tied in there agent adherence and agent schedules. So we bring together multiple pieces of the product into one piece. So we bring in FCS with some of the contact lens pieces and so forth. And then the last piece of software that we have that I'm most excited about is what we call CX Portal. And CX Portal is essentially like an admin console on steroids. So it's meant for business users, it's meant for technical folks, as well as kind of like supervisors and people that manage contact centers. And one of the coolest things that we built that I'll show you later is essentially a visual representation of everything that happens to a contact on that contact's life. All the
Oh,
contact
yeah.
flow logs, all the IVR logs, all the
Yeah,
Lambda
yeah.
logs, all the QIC logs,
So
all
again,
the
taking
Let's
advantage of
logs,
that data, all
all
those
in
data
one
points.
place,
Uh-huh.
beautifully visualized. When we showed that to customers, they're like, where do I sign? Because it's the one thing that every customer struggles with is like troubleshooting and understanding what happened in a contact. So we built that. And then the last piece that we're actually just building over this last week is a knowledge base. So you talk about Amazon Q and Connect, right? You talk about how that can do self-service. You talk about how that can do agent assistance. Well, what does that need? It needs knowledge, it needs data, it needs content. And a lot of times that content is either not in a central place, it's not curated, and
Yep.
it's not necessarily formatted in a way that can be ingested by AI in a way that actually makes the AI not hallucinate or give you relevant information.
One thing I'm often guiding customers on is they will often say, "Oh, we've got a web crawler. Oh, you can just crawl our website." But it will invariably give answers that suit the web, but not, say, a voice call. Like if you say, "Hey, I want to do this thing," we'll say, "Yeah, well, why don't you give us a call on 1-800-XXXXX?" Well, I'm on the phone.
I am. Exactly. Yeah. Or just being able to tag external content versus internal content. I might want to show something to an agent from an agent assist perspective that might be different than what I might want to say in a self-service experience. So it lets you manage tags. Those tags are synchronized to Amazon Q. We've even built a function where you can assign a guide to an interface. We can do a whole session where I can walk you through some of these products, but that's where we've invested. Cool. We've invested in where Amazon doesn't tend to invest, which is, really kind of tying together multiple of these pillars in a single application.
And we have always, and you guys know this because you were there at the time, we have always made sure that we allow partners and customers to build on the platform.
Yeah.
If they want to take the data and visualize it in a different way, we're not closing things down. You don't have to pay for a connector or anything like that. The data's yours. Do with it what you like. Now we are at time, and I know I could keep talking. This is a fascinating topic for the next 3 hours. But Mark, do you have any final?
Yeah,
final
actually, one last question to you. Yeah, Yasser, right? Like, you talked about all this goodness. How do people reach out to you? What's the best way to,
You can find us on LinkedIn. You can go to our website at pronetics.com. That's PRONETX.com. You can hit us up on an email, contact@pronetics.com. Or like I said, you can find us on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much, Yasser. Thank you, Mark. That is a wrap. See you later, everyone. Bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now.